dated Sophia for 8 years. One day, I suddenly noticed a line of text appeared on her forehead. Countdown, 5 days. At first, I thought he was doing this to gain affection, so I couldn't help but tease him. No matter how delicious the dish is, even after eating it for 8 years, it gets boring. I already promised to marry you. Are you still not satisfied? I understood that he grasped the meaning of my words, but he just changed the subject. He asked me with a somewhat pale face, "So what do you want to eat tonight?" "I'll make it again." After all, he has been with me for 8 years. Seeing him looking exhausted, I ultimately softened my heart. But I noticed, whenever I was gentle and considerate to him, the countdown would speed up. I guess this is probably the countdown to my proposal. On the day the countdown ends, I dressed up specially, with high hopes, but I ended up receiving the news of his suicide. I just opened my eyes. My WeChat just pinged. The man in the photo is wearing a sheer shirt. Water droplets slide down from the tips of his hair. They drip onto his barely visible chest muscles. It evokes a lot of imagination. This was sent by my assistant Ryan. I have developed quite a fondness for him lately. I was completely absorbed in it. Sophia's voice suddenly sounded beside me. "What are you looking at?" I quickly turned over. I took my phone and went to the bathroom. Sophia is my boyfriend of 8 years. He has a delicate appearance. His skin is fair. He has a well-proportioned figure. His personality is gentle and considerate. But there is one thing that isn't so good. It might be because we are too reserved. We're not as adventurous as people outside. We are each other's first love. Of course, I love him very much, but even the tastiest food, after a while, it can become bland. I just occasionally go out to seek some novelty. His position is still irreplaceable. I chatted with Ryan in the bathroom for a while. Before I knew it, half an hour had passed. When I went out, Sophia was still sitting there with her head down. I couldn't see his expression clearly. He asked me, "Why did you take so long to come out?" Recently, she has been particularly clingy, and I happen to like it that way, so I spent a bit longer in the bathroom than usual. But Sophia's questioning tone made me a bit impatient. "You're even managing my trips to the restroom. Are you being too controlling, staying home doing nothing every day, and always giving me a hard time? Sophia, does this still make you a man?" Sophia was turned away from the light. I couldn't see his expression clearly, but his silence felt like a form of silent resistance to me. I was getting more and more annoyed. Thinking about Ryan asking me out, I just casually brushed it off. "I have something to do. I'm not coming back today. You can handle lunch and dinner yourself. I'm in a hurry to leave." Sophia, who had been sitting by the bed, suddenly said softly, "Can we not go? I'm feeling a bit uncomfortable." All I can think about is Ryan's photo, but I still tried to speak calmly. "The client is signing the contract tonight. Stop messing around." Upon hearing this, Sophia immediately looked up. His eyes were red. His voice trembled slightly. "Wanwen, just this once. Consider it a request from me. Will you accompany me? We can talk about the client next time. Are you annoying? I've reached my breaking point. I've run out of patience. If I don't work, will you support me? Your voice is already hoarse. You can't sing anymore. On what basis do you say that?" After saying this, I slammed the door and left. In a place where I can't see, Sophia's tears finally fell. After getting in the car, I anxiously took out my phone to check the surveillance. Sophia was sitting on the sofa, staring blankly at her phone. It seemed like she was thinking about something. Seeing that he was okay, I smiled faintly. I turned off the surveillance screen. Someone like Sophia, what could possibly happen? But what I didn't notice was, Sophia's phone had a photo saved in it. In the photo, I was lying in Ryan's arms, sleeping soundly. Ryan had a smug expression on his face. There were quite a few red marks on his body. Their relationship was obvious. The caption of the photo read, "Sister Wanwen likes me. The older one should step back voluntarily. If you don't believe it, come to Night Charm Bar tomorrow afternoon." A calendar reminder suddenly popped up on the phone screen. Today, I plan to propose to her. I wonder if she will say yes. Sophia stared at the happy photo of us on the calendar. It made my eyes a bit sore. After a while, he smiled helplessly. His voice was a bit hoarse. "Did you forget? My voice became like this because of you." The car slowly started moving. I put those worries behind me. My mind was filled with the photo Ryan sent me. It made my heart flutter. As a result, I completely forgot about the countdown in red on a white background above Sophia's head. 5 days, 6 hours, and 37 seconds. At the Night Charm Bar, Ryan raised his glass. The drink seemed to flow from his collar unintentionally. He looked at me with a teasing gaze. I licked my lips. I couldn't help but kiss him. The girls beside us started laughing. Someone joked, "Mr. Lin, could you share some of your experience with us? How do you manage to thrive out there? At home, everything can still be as stable as a mountain." I raised my eyebrow. I smiled lightly. "It's nothing serious. I have been with Sophia for 8 years. He knows how I feel about him. Sophia's position will always be mine," Ryan said with a hint of complaint. "Big sister Wanwen, did I not do something right last night?" I patted Ryan's solid chest. I said with a smile, "In this regard, you are indeed much better than him. He can't compare to you," Ryan said with a happy face. "Well, why not dump this old man, sister? Anyway, he can't help with anything." Before the words fell, a crisp slap sounded. Ryan received a loud slap on his face. "If you dare to make a fuss over there, don't blame me for turning against you." I gave Ryan a light hit. He almost fell over, but he wasn't angry. On the contrary, he leaned closely beside me. "Wanwen Jai, I was wrong. Please don't be angry anymore." I held him in my arms again. He is still so understanding. If it were Sophia, she would probably give me a hard time, but Ryan won't. I like to release my need for control on him. A friend beside me asked, "Wan Jai, you love your brother-in-law so much. Why do you still look for others outside?" I felt a bit uncomfortable inside. "You like drinking chicken soup, but can you drink it every day at every meal? It's the same for men, always facing the same person, no matter how beautiful they are. After a long time, it will also feel tiresome." The woman looked at me a bit displeased, quickly drank 3 glasses of wine, and smiled apologetically. "Besides, I've vented enough outside. Then his position can be more stable. Wanji is right. Wanji is impressive. We are raising our glasses to celebrate." My phone suddenly rang. I took out my phone. I saw it was a call from Sophia. "We had a bit of a disagreement today. She probably wants to apologize to me." "Wanwan, where are you right now?" His voice sounded a bit loud. "Probably outside." He said, "I'm drinking with clients." "Sophia, what's the matter?" Sophia said in a low voice, "I feel a bit unwell. Can you come back to see me?" Here we go again. "Sophia, you're not a child anymore. You always use this trick to win affection. Don't you find it tiresome? As soon as I don't cater to you, you start complaining about this and that. You think I have nothing better to do, or you think I'm easy to bully. If there's something wrong, go see a doctor. What do you want from me?" I angrily hung up on Sophia. I really shouldn't have been polite to him. Men outside aren't that hard to deal with. Now, outside the B317 private room at Night Charm Bar, Sophia's phone only had a series of busy signals. Through the transparent glass door, Sophia saw that woman. She had just told her she was with a client. Now, under everyone's teasing, she was tightly kissing the man in the photo. Sophia clutched that cancer diagnosis notice tightly in her hand. She gripped it even tighter. His lonely figure appeared particularly desolate, as if completely isolated from the world inside. He intended to turn and leave, but just took 2 steps. Suddenly spat out a mouthful of blood. In the end, he staggered and fell to the ground. I feel like I sensed something. I turned to look out the window, but saw nothing at all. "Wanwen, sister, you were distracted while kissing. You will be punished tonight." Ryan leaned close to my ear, whispering teasing words. I looked at him with a smile in my eyes. I asked, "Where did you learn these sweet nothings, little rascal?" Sophia heard the gentle words coming from inside. She couldn't help but cough up a bloody phlegm, mixed with some fragments. Despite feeling weak, he still forced himself to stand up. He had never been in good health. Since that incident years ago, it left him with internal injuries. In the past, whenever he frowned, Lin Wanwen would be especially worried. Now, even if he were dead, she might not care anymore. When she got home, Sophia sat on the sofa. The lights in the room were off. Seeing me return, he didn't get up to greet me like he usually did, but instead he sat blankly on the sofa. It was as if he had lost his soul. I looked at him like this. My heart felt a bit pained, thinking that I needed to find a way to cheer him up. "Look at what I brought you." I took out a teddy bear and handed it over. He took the teddy bear. His expression changed a bit. His voice was low, as if he had just been crying. "Did you buy this for me?" Although these sneakers were a luxury gift that Ryan bought tonight, I still nodded. He smiled and thanked me, but there seemed to be tears hidden in his eyes, full of sorrow. The countdown above his head was still running. It now showed 4 days and 17 hours. After I gave him the teddy bear, the time suddenly changed to 4 days and 5 hours. Only then did I understand. This must be the countdown for his proposal to me. At the same time, I also remembered today's date. Today marks the 8th anniversary of us being together. Sophia's parents got married on their 8th anniversary of dating. Then came him. Back when our relationship was sweet, I often snuggled in his arms. He looked into my eyes and said seriously, when we reach our 8 years of dating, let's get married. At that time, I was probably so shy that I just jumped into his arms. If he proposed to me now, I think I would still say yes. After all, so many years have passed. I just want to find some novelty. I'm not really planning to replace him. I suddenly remembered the promise I made to Ryan today. Sophia, I have something I need your help with. Go ahead. My company's assistant has a cat. Its birthday is coming up, he told me. He used to be your fan. He wants to invite you to sing a song at his cat's birthday party. Sophia looked up. Her face was full of surprise. There was something in her gaze that I couldn't understand. Lin Wanwen, you want me to sing to his cat, but my voice, don't you know I do know? That year, Sophia was already a somewhat famous singer. The future looked bright. But unexpectedly, his obsessed fans discovered our relationship. As a result, the fans actually kidnapped me. To threaten him, he faced a difficult choice. Either give me up or drink concentrated sulfuric acid. He unhesitatingly chose the latter. He immediately drank the highly corrosive acid. He almost died because of it. The extreme fan was later arrested, but since then, his voice was completely ruined. He actively cooperated with the treatment. He also worked hard on rehabilitation training, but the results were not ideal. His once beautiful voice became deep and hoarse. He stayed alone in the room for 3 days and nights. Since then, he decided to quit, to focus on cooking for me at home. I thought about how hard Ryan was trying to please me. My heart wavered a bit, but I still steeled myself and said, "This time, is that okay?" Sophia looked at me sadly. She suddenly shed tears, but there was still a smile at the corners of her mouth. She said, "Okay, what do you want me to do? I'll do it." I felt something was off, but I didn't think much of it. Later, I often regret not being more vigilant at that time. I regret not considering things more back then. In the blink of an eye, it was Ryan's kitten's birthday. At my invitation, Sophia attended the gathering. Even in such an occasion, he still tries his best to dress like a professional singer. He once said, "Every stage deserves to be taken seriously." However, when he opened his mouth, looking still glamorous, when I tried to sing the song I used to be best at, I could only produce a series of strange sounds. After singing, Ryan laughed and started clapping. "Ha ha ha, Sophia bro, you sang amazingly." Someone else present also started clapping. His face looked somewhat familiar. Amazing, truly spectacular, as expected of a former superstar. When Sophia saw him, she was taken aback for a moment. "Ethan, what are you doing here?" As soon as I saw, it turned out to be the now popular star Ethan. I remember he used to be teammates with Sophia. Ethan looked particularly happy. He said, "Sophia, oh Sophia, seeing you like this, I'm really so glad." He took out his phone, he aimed it at Sophia and started recording. Not long after, Ethan's live performance topped the trending search list. Many people rushed into the live stream room. They all shouted for Sophia to sing another song. He had suddenly left the music scene before. Many people were unaware of the specific reasons. There were also many fans who had been hoping for his return. Sophia stood on stage. Her shoulders trembled slightly. She looked at me with pleading eyes. Wanwen. His expression seemed very helpless, like an abandoned puppy. My heart softened instantly. After all, this is someone I've loved for 8 years. Maybe I was a bit too harsh on him, just as I was still hesitating. "Wanwen." Ryan grabbed my arm. "Sister Wanwen, you let Sophia go on stage to sing. I'll find another friend to help you. What do you think?" Ryan's words echoed in my ears. I hesitated for a moment, then I turned my head. I no longer looked at Sophia. "Let's have another song, superstar. So many fans are waiting to see you." As I turned around, out of the corner of my eye, I noticed Sophia's gaze suddenly dimmed. The countdown days above his head suddenly decreased as well. One day, 3 hours and 10 minutes left until the start. All right, I agreed. "I'll sing." Sophia understood. His former fans were paying attention to him. He didn't want to disappoint them, but his voice, ruined by concentrated sulfuric acid, was destined to let them down. A strange and hoarse sound came from the microphone. He looked at the crowd laughing around him. He knew in his heart, "This time I completely messed up. Why does this sound hurt so much? I feel like my ears can't take it anymore." This is the heavenly voice that fans rave about. It seems his fans have never seen much of the world. I'm going to unfollow. He wouldn't have been lip-syncing before. Would he? Has it finally been exposed now? The barrage in the live stream is scrolling rapidly. It's filled with negative emotions. Sophia's eyes are filled with tears. She asks with a choked voice, "Can I leave now?" Although he didn't look at me, I understand. He is talking to me. I nodded slightly as Sophia stepped down from the stage. She suddenly started coughing and coughed up a mouthful of blood in front of everyone. I felt a tightness in my heart. I was about to get up, but was gently pulled back by Ryan beside me. He smiled and said, "Wanwen, sister, I have a surprise. I want you to see it." He gently squeezed my palm. He signaled me with his eyes to follow him. I hesitated for a moment, but ultimately followed Ryan out. Ryan kept finding ways to make me laugh, again and again. I had a great time. I completely forgot that Sophia was still waiting for me downstairs. After it ended, I lay down to rest. Ryan got up and went out, but it wasn't long before I heard Ryan scream. When I went downstairs, I saw Ryan's face was pale. His wrist was bleeding. Sophia was holding a bloodied fruit knife. Ryan said to Sophia, "Sophia, bro, Wanwen sister and I really have nothing going on. Please don't hurt me." Seeing me come in, Ryan had tears in his eyes. He pleaded with Sophia to let him go, but Sophia didn't say a word. She just stared intently at Ryan. Her gaze was chilling and terrifying. I immediately stood in front of Ryan. I shouted angrily, "Sophia, what do you want to do?" "You should apologize to Ryan. I really didn't expect your thoughts to be so extreme. I had already decided to marry you. Are you still so calculative?" Sophia chuckled hoarsely a few times. He, haha. I watched him warily. "What are you laughing at?" A trace of blood seeped from the corner of Sophia's mouth again. She said in a low and sorrowful voice, "I'm laughing at myself. I misjudged people. Everyone I've met is unreliable. The kindness you showed me that year, I'm repaying you now." He grabbed a fruit knife. Without hesitation, he slashed at his own face, one cut after another, without mercy. His handsome face suddenly had several gaping wounds. Blood kept gushing out. I also noticed he had many old scars on his hands. They looked like marks from knife cuts. What has he been through? That year, his parents had an accident. They needed a blood transfusion. As a classmate, I donated blood for his parents. Although his parents eventually passed away, he has always kept this kindness in his heart. "Sophia," his resolute tone startled me. For the first time, I felt like things were getting a bit out of my control, but in front of Ryan, I didn't want to lose face. "Sophia, stop it. This is so awkward." He laughed so hard that tears fell down his face. "It's me who's embarrassing. You're right. I shouldn't stay here and trouble Mr. Lin." He turned and left. The countdown on the screen changed as well. It showed a countdown of 13 hours and 1 minute. I suddenly felt a bit anxious. I could only comfort myself by saying, "It's fine. When he proposes to me tomorrow, I will agree to him then. I just need to comfort him." That night, Sophia did not go home. I originally planned to send someone to find her, but Ryan kept bothering me. He insisted that I fulfill my previous promise. I'm struggling with desire. At the same time, I'm comforting myself, thinking this is the last time I'll be reckless before marrying Sophia. The next day, I woke up early. I dressed up seriously. I even had my subordinates set up dreamy decorations. I still love him in my heart. I would say I'm willing. I waited in the room for a long time, but I never waited for him to come. Just then, my assistant rushed in holding a newspaper. He shouted, "Mr. Lin, something has happened. Something has happened." The original text contains only punctuation. There is no substantial content. Therefore, it cannot be rewritten. Mr. Sophia committed suicide by cutting his wrists this morning. The body has already been sent to the police station. When I heard this news, my mind went blank all of a sudden. I was completely stunned. Could there be some mistake? Sophia would commit suicide. I still remember my first attempt at entrepreneurship in college. As a result, we lost all our savings. Despite being burdened with hundreds of thousands in debt, even in such a desperate situation, Sophia still firmly said to me, "It's okay, Wanwen, as long as we're alive. There is hope. I will always be with you." This Sophia. Would she choose the path of suicide? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I immediately stood up. In disbelief, I rushed out. This must be a lie. It has to be fake. Not long after, I ran into the police station in a daze. "Where is Sophia?" A police officer glanced up at me and asked, "What is your relationship with her?" I was restless, searching for Sophia's figure everywhere. Repeating, "I am his wife." The police officer snorted coldly. "Let's talk seriously. Your husband is seriously ill. As his wife, you didn't even know. Have you cared about the patient's mental health, Sophia? She's sick. Impossible. He never mentioned it to me. The police seemed to be at a loss with me. He shook his head, pointing at a body covered with a white cloth in the corner. Take a look for yourself. I slowly walked towards Sophia. Every step felt like walking on a knife's edge. Each step was painfully alarming. I trembled as I lifted the white cloth. Suddenly, I felt a wave of relief. This is definitely not Sophia. I recognize his face. This person is not him. You better confess honestly. Did you conspire to make me angry? Hurry and bring Sophia out. The man's face under the white cloth is destroyed. I can't recognize his original appearance at all. This is definitely not him. He usually pays so much attention to his appearance. How could he let himself become like this? I sat easily on the ground. It felt like I was saved. As long as Sophia appears, I will forgive him for his overly willful behavior this time. The police officer's expression immediately became stern. He said with an unhappy tone, "This family member, please watch your words. We have no need to deceive you. What benefit would that be for us if you don't believe us? The autopsy report is right here. Take a look for yourself." With a slap, a thick stack of reports was thrown in front of me. I quickly flipped through the contents inside. Sophia died from a wrist-cutting suicide. The time of death was around 9 a.m. today. She had lung cancer during her lifetime. He has deep knife wounds on his face and body. The 3 wounds on his face were from before. All the other injuries were only sustained in the early hours of last night. At 9 a.m. today, I thought he would propose to me at this countdown moment. However, the words in front of me suddenly felt utterly unfamiliar. I recognize these words, but when they are put together, I can't understand them at all. I stood up unsteadily. The assistant beside him supported him. He trembled as he lifted the remaining part of the white cloth on his originally fair skin. Now it was covered in scars. It was obvious at a glance. He had suffered terrible treatment in his lifetime. My gaze moved downward. The scar was deeply embedded in his wrist, just below the palm. It looked like it had cut straight to the bone. When he cut it open back then, it seemed he didn't hesitate at all. I caught sight of the ring at the base of his ring finger. That was the gift I gave her on our first anniversary with Sophia. The ring wasn't expensive. The ring isn't expensive. The design is quite ordinary. We only engraved a small line of text on the ring. As the only design, always on my mind, there must be a response. This simple ring, if given to someone else, it might be looked down upon, but Sophia treasures it. She always wears it close to her. I suddenly realized I have given many branded jewelry and expensive sneakers to others, but I forgot to prepare a gift for my Sophia. I softly murmured my Sophia's name, then I took off the ring. My body slowly fell back. I lost consciousness. When I woke up, I found myself lying on a hospital bed. Ryan was helping me wipe sweat. He saw that I was awake. He was extremely happy. "Wanwen, sister, you're awake. Do you know how worried I was about you? I was really afraid something would happen to you. If that happened, I wouldn't be able to go on living." Ryan hugged me tightly. The hug was a bit painful, but in my heart, still thinking about Sophia. Is he still lying on that cold iron bed at the police station, all alone? Does he feel lonely? I struggled to ask Sophia. When I mentioned Sophia's name, Ryan's expression turned somewhat displeased, but he still responded with a smile. "Wanwen, sister, don't worry. No one will interfere with us anymore. I know that as a successful entrepreneur, it's bad for your reputation to abandon your wife. Now that Sophia has committed suicide, it actually saves us trouble. That's just great." I widened my eyes. I shouted angrily, "Stop talking." I slapped Ryan hard. This time it wasn't a gentle pat like before, but I used all my strength. His face immediately swelled up. Blood dripped from the corner of his mouth. "Wanwen, sister, don't be angry. I won't say anything more. He looks very wronged. I'm taking care of Sister Wanwen. I've gone several days and nights without sleep. Yet Sister Wanwen still got angry at me. It was then that I noticed. My clothes had already been changed into a hospital gown. It seems that during my coma these past few days, it was Ryan who took care of me. Looking at the dark circles under his eyes, I felt a bit guilty. Does it hurt? No, it doesn't hurt. For Sister Wanwen, I'm willing to do this. I sighed. Maybe I shouldn't take my anger out on others. Sophia's death has made me a bit out of control. Just thinking about Sophia, I suddenly wanted to get up. "Sophia? Where is Sophia? Her remains?" Ryan gently pressed down on my shoulder. "I have already buried Brother Sophia in the best cemetery in the city." "Sister Wanwen, Don't worry. I have always regarded Sophia as my own brother. Look, he is buried right here." He picked up his phone and showed me a photo. The photo was of the best cemetery in the city. In the center is a bare tomb mound. Inscribed on the tombstone is, "The greatest singer, Sophia." I closed my eyes. My heart ached terribly. Sophia is really gone. A few days later, I can finally move around freely. The doctor said it was because I was too sad. He told me to think less about unhappy things, but I can't help but think about them. Back home, the house is filled with traces left by Sophia. There are sticky notes he wrote on the fridge, reminding Wanwen that her stomach isn't good. She shouldn't eat cold or spicy food. In the kitchen, the clay pot he used to make soup for me every night is still there. I walked into his room. A heart was drawn on the calendar for March 28th. It was written on the card, "Sophia will always love Wanwen, be my bride." So that day, he was already ready to propose to me, but I ruthlessly rejected him. I was still with Ryan outside. Only when you lose someone do you realize they are like air, usually invisible and intangible. But without them, life cannot go on. I couldn't help but burst into tears. I collapsed onto the ground. My fingers were tightly clenched into fists. It even left blood marks on my palms. At that moment, I unexpectedly found a notebook. I hadn't been in Sophia's room for a long time. I didn't even know he was keeping a diary. I opened the diary and found that he had written many pages. He had started recording from a few years ago. Wanwen accompanied a client for drinks today. She came back and vomited heavily. "I really feel heartbroken. I learned to make warming soup. I make it for her to drink every night. Although I can't sing, this is all I can do for her. Today she gave me a ring. She told me that when the 8th year comes, she'll marry me. I really feel very happy." The previous diary is filled with our happy times. As I read through it, tears couldn't help but fall. Actually, happiness has always been around me. It's just that I was blinded by greed. I didn't notice the beauty in ordinary life. I flipped to the records from the last few months. My heart tightened under the date from a month ago. It was written, "The doctor told me I have cancer." I later realized the autopsy report also mentioned the deceased was diagnosed with lung cancer during their lifetime, but Sophia never mentioned this to me. Not a word was said. This is such an important matter. Why didn't he tell me? I quickly flipped through the pages. The doctor said my condition is already at an advanced stage. The hope for recovery is slim, but I still don't want to give up. I want to be with Wanwen forever, to take care of her and protect her forever. She's not very smart. What will happen to her without me, Sophia? You're such a fool. The biggest fool in the world. You're already so sick. Why are you still worried about me? But I was just touched for a moment. Then I continued reading. My heart sank. I went to the company to find her, but I saw her kissing another man. I asked her colleagues. They didn't recognize me. They told me that was her new love, implying that there were many people before him. It seems I don't really know Lynn Wanwen anymore. Which one is the real her? It's the one who said she loves me and is willing to work hard for our future. She who doesn't care about my voice. Or the one who has many lovers outside and flirts around. Just looking at the date, I realized this has been going on for half a month. It turns out he already knew I had betrayed him. No wonder his attitude towards me has changed recently. I felt like I had fallen into an ice cellar. I can't imagine how he has endured these past 2 weeks, facing my evasions and lies. He still had to force a smile, pretending to be strong. He didn't even come to ask me. He just silently swallowed this suffering, until I flipped to the record of our 8th anniversary. My heart felt like it was soaked in ice water. The pain was excruciating. Her outside lovers came to me. They sent me their intimate photos. She was nestled in someone else's arms, quietly asleep. There were still traces of their intimacy around. My first thought was, she hasn't been resting well lately. I hope she has sweet dreams. As long as she is willing to stay with me today, just for today, I will forgive her, propose to her, promise to love only her for a lifetime. But she forgot what happened today. I missed the last chance for Sophia to forgive me. I stood up groggily. I accidentally knocked over the vase on the table. Glass shards pierced into my leg. It hurt so much that I gritted my teeth. I cried like a baby. But it wasn't because of the injury on my leg. I was just thinking. Sophia had so many cuts on her face from a fruit knife. Each cut was so deep. How much pain she must have felt at that time. Though he is no longer a hot star, he still cares a lot about his appearance. He often points to the small wrinkles on his face and asks me, if he is no longer handsome in the future, will I still love him? Now, He actually managed to disfigure his own face like that. His heart must be in unbearable pain, but I actually didn't go to comfort him. Instead, I let him walk away by himself. Sophia must have been hurt, feeling despondent. That's why she chose to commit suicide. After the sadness, this emotion gradually turned into anger. I once thought Ryan was a pitiful man who loved me wholeheartedly. I didn't expect him to send that kind of message to Sophia. I picked up my phone. I called my most trusted assistant, Xiao Zhao, help me find out where Ryan is right now, to guard against my lover's betrayal. I had already installed tracking software on Ryan's phone. However, I always thought he was trustworthy, so I hadn't used this feature until now. Not long after, Xiao Zhao sent me the location. I took a look. I couldn't help but frown. The location showed Ryan is currently at Johnson Enterprises, a competitor of Smith Group. What's he doing over there for no reason? I'm a bit suspicious. Just drive quietly and follow Ryan. Arrived at the underground parking lot of Johnson Enterprises. It wasn't long before. Sure enough, Ryan came down from Johnson Enterprises to the garage. He was accompanied by a middle-aged man. I recognized him at a glance. It was indeed the chairman of Johnson Enterprises. Ryan was chatting warmly with him. They looked very close. I hid in the car, straining my ears to listen to their conversation. Little Jun, you did a great job. Eliminate the people closest to Lin Wanwen, then she'll have to rely on you. We at Johnson Enterprises can also use your help. Bring down the Smith Group. Ryan smiled proudly. Dad, don't worry. I've already enchanted Lin Wanwen completely. She really thinks I gave Sophia a proper burial. It's really hilarious. In fact, I disposed of her a long time ago. You're really impressive. Much stronger than your brother. Dad is getting older. From now on, Johnson Enterprises will rely on you. Ryan showed a ruthless expression I had never seen before. Anyone who stands in the way of the Johnson family will not have a good ending. Once the Smith Group collapses, I must make Lin Wanwen obedient to my words. I see now. I've heard for a long time that the Johnson family has 2 sons. The elder is in charge of managing the family business. The younger is studying abroad. Very few people have seen him. I didn't expect that. This old Guy Johnson, to take down the Smith Group, even sent out his youngest son. He really invested a lot. I'm trembling all over, but not out of anger, but because of rage. I've really been short-sighted. I stared at the 2 of them coldly. My heart was full of resentment. Those who truly love me, I looked down upon it. Instead, I regarded those with ulterior motives as treasures. I want them to pay for Sophia's death. Continue. I will personally apologize to Sophia. I deliberately acted as if I trusted Ryan completely, feigning sleep, giving him a chance to see the confidential documents of the Smith Group. This matter pertains to the important bid next time. I heard some faint sounds. It turned out to be Ryan quietly taking pictures. I coldly smiled. He indeed couldn't resist this temptation. However, he is unaware that the materials were actually forged by me on purpose, if they dare to use them directly. Not only is this bid destined to fail, but they might also get into big trouble because of it. They may even face legal sanctions. As expected, on the day of the bidding, Johnson confidently spoke on stage. The bidding materials he presented were exactly the ones I had previously let Ryan see. Ryan couldn't help but smile at first, but soon he couldn't smile anymore. He asked General Johnson, this material, did your company really write this? The staff asked. Is that true? Johnson tried to remain calm. He answered, of course it's true. This is a work I spent several weeks on. It's a hard-earned piece of work. What do you mean by that? Then please come with us. Your work is suspected of plagiarism and fraud. We have solid evidence. I couldn't help but laugh inside. They were just trying to be clever, but they didn't think about improving their own skills. They couldn't even recognize the award-winning work from 10 years ago mixed in. The data was also something I made up casually. Now, Johnson Enterprises is caught in a major scandal. I gave it a little push from behind. Some previous illegal activities, for example, tax evasion, plagiarism, and employee exploitation, all have been exposed. The result, the stock price of Johnson Enterprises plummeted. Employees and shareholders also began to leave. Johnson was sentenced to 10 years for multiple charges. While I feel satisfied, it's still not enough. Ryan hasn't faced any sanctions yet. After the incident at Johnson Enterprises, Ryan's reaction was particularly intense. He was restless all day long. Sometimes his face changed while watching the news. I noticed it. I understand his feelings. I could only watch him force a smile. Eventually, he couldn't hold back anymore. One night, Ryan suddenly came to my house. I had long stopped allowing him to meet me privately. Today, he kept begging me to open the door. I thought to myself, the time has come. Ryan knelt before me, crying and begging me to save his dad. I pretended to say in surprise, "Wow, so you're the heir of Johnson Enterprises. Why don't you inherit the family business instead? You want to be a little assistant at our Smith Group." Wanwin's sister, I truly like you. I'd rather give up my inheritance to stay by your side and accompany you. My feelings for you are genuine. Ryan knelt on the ground. His voice was choked. His face was full of tears. That day, he didn't look fierce at all. If I hadn't seen it with my own eyes, I might have really been deceived by him. I handed him a glass of water. "Don't rush. First, have a sip of water. Take your time to speak." Ryan looked very happy. He thought I still cared about him. He picked up a glass of water. "Drink it all in one go." When he opens his eyes again, he finds himself already tied to the chair by me. Wanwin's sister, "What are you doing?" "Let go of me quickly. I'm asking directly. What did you do to Sophia?" Ryan tried to play dumb. "Speak." "Nothing, sis. What are you talking about?" "I barely had any contact with brother Sophia. Didn't you say I shouldn't contact him?" My voice suddenly got louder. "How can you still have the face to say that? I saw everything. You can't compare to Sophia at all. Just seeing you makes me uncomfortable." I threw Sophia's phone in front of him. The text message content was clearly displayed on the screen. "I understand now. This is all you're doing, isn't it?" Ryan immediately understood. Recent events at Johnson Enterprises are not a coincidence, but it was planned by me alone. "Lynn Wanwin, you still have the nerve to talk about me when you enjoy under me. Why don't you think there's something wrong with yourself?" His words made my heart tighten. My face instantly turned pale. I remembered the night before Sophia's suicide. I was still with him then. It hurt inside like a knife cut. "Once I handle your matter, I will definitely apologize to Sophia." I picked up the knife and pressed it against Ryan's throat. "Speak quickly. What did you do with Sophia's body?" Ryan burst out laughing. "Ha, you really don't understand. Or do I have to say it myself? Let me tell you. I fed it to my big wolf dog. It was torn to pieces. It was truly a horrific sight. You actually dare to believe me? That's really too naive." Sophia was also a confused person. When she was alive, I had people stab her like that. Even in death, she couldn't escape. His favorite woman was by his side during his suffering, still by my side. How ironic. What you saw that day, it was actually something I arranged on purpose. The small scar on my hand was caused by myself. I just put the knife in his hand. You took it seriously. Lynn Wanwin, you believe too easily. No wonder Sophia has so many injuries. When he chose to commit suicide, how desperate he must have felt inside. My heart felt like it was being torn apart, eyes bloodshot. You actually let someone torment him? How could you do that? How could I not dare when he was alive? You didn't care about him much either. Now that he's gone, you instead act so affectionate. I was so angry I laughed out loud. All right. Since that's the case, then let's just go down together. I personally made Ryan experience the suffering that Sophia once endured, and even more than that. He initially reacted with angry accusations. Gradually, it turned into pleas, but I still didn't stop. I knew in my heart that I had already lost my sanity. He kept begging, "Please, don't kill me. I really know I was wrong." He shouted loudly, "Be careful. Quick, get away." I swung the knife again. Ryan's face twisted in pain. He shouted, "You are killing me. Thinking you could gain something, are you not afraid of death?" I remained expressionless, coldly watching Ryan walk step by step towards death. As he was about to lose consciousness, I finally spoke. "When you tormented Sophia back then, did he also beg you like this?" "Unfortunately, you didn't let him go, just like I won't let you go." Then, Ryan was killed with a single stab. The sound of police sirens outside grew closer. I realized Ryan's disappearance may have drawn the police's attention. I stared at the ring left by Sophia for a long time. It was her only keepsake. I put it on my hand. Then I picked up a sharp knife. I pointed it at myself. At that moment, it felt as if Sophia's hand was gripping the handle of the knife. "Sophia, I'm sorry. I'm willing to endure all suffering just so that you can live happily. Your future will surely be bright. May you have a beautiful and long life. I hope in the next life, you won't meet someone like me again."